You can just leave it here. Oh my gosh.
Brings back some memories, huh?
I'm in love.
Oh, that's
I'm
great,
in
brother.
love. God, I love this. Thank you, guys. This is just super.
Oh, you're welcome, sir. It's my pleasure. My pleasure. It's a great time for us, too.
My sister
Yep.
had a friend. Her name was Peggy Soderquist. And her friend had an uncle, and he had this car sitting in his garage. He asked know anybody that wants this? It took us 3 milliseconds before we were over, Dad, there's a Model T for sale. And he says, where's your money?
Case, what kind of shenanigans are we up to today in the Model T?
Oh, we're back at it again, man. We've got a pretty cool assignment today. One of our viewers who's local here, his grandfather had one of these Model Ts as his first car.
Yeah, and we're gonna go drive our Model T to his house and take him for a spin in it. Apparently, he is 92 years old.
Yeah.
So, a rather old gentleman who bought this car apparently when he was 13 or 14 years old. We'll get that story from him. But first, we have to get to his house, which means driving through traffic.
Yeah, and I gotta say, of all the places, oh yeah, look at that. Of all the places that we've gone to in this Model T, driving through Boulder is not gonna be the worst one. Although, I say that, there are a lot of pedestrians and wild cyclists here in Boulder. And the worst thing about the Model T is not actually getting going, but it's slowing it down.
I mean, the worst part of Model T, Case, is anytime you have to change speed at all. Speeding up, slowing down, steering.
It's not good at any of those.
As a couch, it's a pretty good car.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, it makes for a great couch.
As a car, not awesome, and at least by modern day standards. But this was a car designed for dirt roads going through the countryside. It was not intended for stop and go, red and green light traffic.
No, it certainly doesn't do that very well. And I'm just hoping that nobody rides a bicycle out in front of us or a skateboard or something, because that would be a very Boulder thing to happen. And I've had to slam on my brakes plenty driving around this town. That's just not really an option for us here.
So a quick recap on how the Model T works. You have 2 gears, incredibly slow and ridiculously fast. By ridiculously fast, we mean...
Oh, almost, what, 40 miles an hour?
Almost 40, but when you're on 2-inch wide wooden wheels, that's pretty quick.
Yeah, it does feel pretty quick. The other thing is that this part of the country is not the best as far as smooth roads go. But actually our Model T does ride pretty decent.
It's super smooth, right? Really squishy suspension. And the good thing about the Model T is you sit so high, you can see over any kind of traffic.
Yeah, so maybe we can predict when someone's gonna run out in front of us. Because I really think that's gonna happen before the end of the day.
Now, Case, let's talk about our brakes. There's a cotton band in the transmission that vaguely tightens over a drum.
I think if your average driver today, especially even a performance driver, had their choice of brake materials, cotton,
Door open.
There goes the door. I don't think cotton would be high up on the list for most people.
Not for me. I don't see F1 adopting cotton anytime soon.
It's not a great brake material, I don't think.
We're also having some ignition problems today, so we're not running on all 4 cylinders, more like 3 and a bit.
But we're not overheating yet.
Can you tell Alex he's got to slow down by about 100 times, our videographer driving the chase vehicle?
Hey, you might have noticed, we're not super fast today.
Yeah, he's gonna have to calm it down a little bit. He's doing at least 32 miles an hour. What does he think this is, the 1930s, that hooligan?
Yeah, this is no Model A. This thing is slow, dude.
So this is a 1915 Ford Model T Roadster runabout, depending on what you want to call it. But basically, it's the sports car of the group.
No, it's stripped down. We don't have a top. We're lightened and fast.
Yeah, dude, this thing is luxury. He is pulling over.
What is going on? Is this where we're going?
I think so. Oh God, this is a shockingly big hill. I'm using the engine braking.
Yeah, we gotta slow down, and we're going downhill.
Dude, it's crazy how how few brakes this car has.
You know, the stakes are pretty high here as well, because it's one thing when we're at the grasslands or we're in Berthoud and there's not really anything there to run into, but there sure as hell is here.
There's a lot of people to crash into here and a lot of cars.
And multi-million-dollar homes here in Boulder.
You know what's interesting about this Model T case is it goes through phases of running like absolute garbage, and then it just decides, yeah, that I do want to run today.
It's also kind of hard to tell if it's running very well or not. Granted, there's plenty of people out there who spent a lot of time with Model Ts that would be able to tell in a moment if it's running well or not. But it always sounds a little tractor-like. Yeah.
Like that ignition problem I was just having, it's fine now.
Oh, it fixed.
It's like a really old man. You know, it takes a long time to get going, and then right before it's about to overheat and blow its top, it runs perfectly.
You know, I think it probably helps for this car that we've actually been using it a decent amount. We drive it, what, once every 2 weeks maybe? Pretty good.
When we first got this car, it had been sitting for 30 years.
Yeah.
And it ran and drove like garbage.
Yeah.
And then really all we had to do was work on the cooling system a little bit and do just about nothing else. It's way happier.
Yeah, this thing is driving really well, actually. It doesn't make a ton of crazy noises that it's not supposed to. It steers pretty well. I think this drives about as well as most Model Ts out there.
I think you're right, Case. Which is to say it barely drives at all. No, but really, I mean, it's such a fun car. Oh, look at that engine.
We're lugging.
Probably should have stayed in first a little longer. The thing is, I don't have a tachometer. And I really have no idea what the red line is.
We do have a speedometer, but it doesn't work.
No.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Oh, man. Ian, you can't do that, buddy.
Sorry, our brakes are bad.
Our brakes are virtually non-existent.
Look at that house. That's nice.
That's a nice house. All right, so we're going to go meet with this gentleman and then take him for a spin. So we're here with Roger. And Roger, as I understand it, you used to own one of these cars, is that correct?
Suze, where are the pictures?
Oh, you got
very
it.
cool.
This is Winter. So this was your car back in the day, huh?
That's my first car, right there.
No way. Wow.
Some way.
So what year did you buy this car?
I was 13, and my brother was 15. I was born in 1931, so that's in 1944.
Wow.
Middle of the war, yeah.
Wow. And is this you again?
That's my brother.
That's your brother.
And this was a friend's. Now, I wonder how close this is to this.
Very close.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, it's got the wooden wheels, it's got the two doors.
Right.
Unbelievable. And is this you again?
That's my sister.
Okay.
Look at her saddle shoes. That tells you the period.
That's cool.
Oh, this is just unbelievable.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
And Roger, why did you buy a Model T?
I needed a car
Okay.
badly. I was 13, and I didn't have a car. So, what do? You go buy a car.
And did you live in Boulder, in Colorado?
No, I was born and lived in South Denver.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Where did you find yours? Did you buy it from a used car lot?
My sister had a friend. Her name was Peggy Soderquist, and her friend had an uncle who was quitting driving, and he had this car sitting in his garage. He asked his niece, know anybody that wants this? And she asked my sister, and my sister came to my dad and said, look, there's a car that is available now. He said, well, your boys can't drive yet. One's 15 and one's 13. Well, it took us 3 milliseconds before we were over. My dad was working in the Victory Garden next to South High School at the time, 1944, middle of the war. Dad, there's a Model T for sale. And he says, where's your money? Well, we are thinking maybe you could lend it to us. He said, well, what are you going to do for it? He said, we'll work for you. We'll dig the ground. We'll do anything. Well, he's a softie. So the next thing, we had gone up to the Model T and we drove it home. $75
Nice.
for this car. And it was fully drivable, And so we got it home. We couldn't drive it. The only We had an alley in back of our house in South Denver, and we could drive it up and down the alley.
Wow.
As kids.
Until my brother was 16, which was the following October, at which time we went crazy.
Who you want to take them?
Yeah, you want to go for a ride?
No,
Come on.
no, I wouldn't even think.
Roger, come on.
Well,
We came all this way. You have to try it.
bend my elbow.
I think we can make that happen.
Yeah, here.
Oh,
Well,
I would
grab those.
love to.
Okay.
God, this is beautiful.
So,
Oh,
first thing we have to do.
Wow. Yeah.
So first we have to get it going again, right?
Oh yeah.
So your car had electric start.
I believe it did, a floor button.
Yeah, this one's a crank start.
Yeah.
So it's gonna take me a
Oh,
second.
I'd love to start it.
Do you want to try?
Good compression.
Yeah.
Don't put your thumb over the handle.
Yeah.
Roger, you're still pretty sharp about Model T stuff. Got spark return.
That's music. That's Beethoven, Bach.
It just kind of purrs along, Roger. 109 years later. Hop on it.
See you next year.
There you go. It's like sitting on a couch, Roger. Best.
Oh,
Yeah, I think they're gonna go
I
in
can't think
front
of
of you.
any one thing that would make me happier. I learned to drive this before I learned to drive any other car.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was 13, and I wasn't driving my dad's Oldsmobile at the time.
That was the car you drove.
Yeah.
So was your brother a car person too?
Oh, yeah, the two of us. He became a Navy pilot. He was a hero. He,
Wow.
He flew pilot rescue in Vietnam. Yay! Yay! Good here.
We're good on that side?
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Oh, your door flew open.
Uh-oh.
Make sure that's closed.
Seems
Oh, the latch is a little out of adjustment. Yeah, just slam it. There you go.
it's all right. Not to worry. Lose me and you lose nothing.
I don't think that's true, Roger.
I'm 93.
You look great. Do you still feel good?
I feel good.
That's what matters.
Nobody here on my side. Nobody coming. God, I love this. Thank you, guys. This is just super.
Oh, you're welcome, sir. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. It's a great time for us, too. So what did you like most about your Model T?
I think engine work.
Yeah?
We loved it. There used to be an opera radio program every Saturday afternoon,
Okay.
and we had a portable radio. We'd come out and set it under the car and turn it to the opera and listen to opera while we were doing engine work. And that was more fun than anything.
That's great.
My mother was a classical music fan, as was my dad. And so we would listen to Beethoven, and we would listen to Bach, and we would listen to Verdi, and God knows, you name it. Do you know Model T parts at all?
I do, yeah.
You know about a front neck head?
Yeah, right.
Okay, we had a front neck head, overhead valves. We had a Stromberg downdraft carburetor. We had a Bosch distributor, over the
Nice.
cap. It fit over the thing and then came up and it was a regular distributor. So we got rid of the forward coils, and that thing would go like lightning.
I bet it did.
My dad,
Really?
Yeah, in there.
he got a
Oh,
new
the motor. Yeah, there was one.
Oldsmobile. It was the first V8.
Okay.
And I went, there it is. Okay, here, this is the front neck head. There's their
Distributor.
Bosch ignition, and here's our downdraft carburetor right there.
Wow. And it's an overhead valve engine case.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
way cool.
very advanced
Exactly.
for these cars.
Yeah, and that gave a lot higher compression because this is the L head, the valves were at the side of the piston, and this brought the valves on top of the piston, so all it had was that little compression area over the piston. So it raised the compression to good 7, something like that.
It's pretty good.
It's better than 3 to
We
1.
went out. My dad had gotten this new Oldsmobile V8. It was the first year that they put the V8 in it, and Howard and I went out, and he was driving that, and I was driving the T. And we went out and we dropped the flag and we took off, and I was ahead of him up to 35 miles an hour. Literally. It was its acceleration. I don't know why I didn't twist out of the wire wheels, but
When you were driving this car, were there fewer traffic lights?
oh yeah.
It's tough to drive in traffic, this car.
Oh, there was so much less traffic. But see, this was the middle of the war, 1944. And you couldn't get tires, and you had a gas rationing card.
Yep.
And,
I'm amazed you were able to get gasoline.
well, I think we had like 4 gallons a month or something.
That's not much.
No. Well, see, we had no business. If you had to drive to work, you got more gas.
Right. The hard part about driving a Model T, Roger, there's really not a lot of brakes.
Tell me. Or I should say, remind me.
Remind you, yeah.
Oh, this is absolutely out of this world.
So did your...
I can't tell you what a delight this is.
Oh, I'm glad. It's a pretty fun car.
Oh, it's wonderful. And I feel the vibrations under this seat. I feel this whole thing is going this way.
Going this way.
That was how you signaled. This is right and this is left.
Just with your hand, that's all you had, huh?
And down is stop.
Yep.
Don't worry about this.
Sorry, Roger,
I'm
the door keeps opening.
I'm okay. This is my mother. If you can believe it, she was 16 and she was teaching school out of Yuma, Colorado, east of here. And she couldn't, there was no bus, there was no train. She needed wheels. So her dad bought her this Model T. She was 16, teaching school, and drove to class every day.
Wow.
And this was her first car. And now this is
Yeah, steel
white
wheels.
spoke wheels.
Yeah.
You know, that's like having white sidewalls on your rubber
It's a
tires.
good look.
And so she drove that to school every day, and then came the end of her teaching year, and she went up to the University of Colorado.
Did you drive them in the snow at all?
In the
Drive
winter?
snow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we drove the other one.
Yeah.
See, I live next to Washington Park, which is
Right.
a very nice park, and in the winter, it's pretty snowy. We took a rope and wound it around the wheel, the tires, and we just drove everywhere. We had clearance, we had cutting ability, and that was where we learned to ski jor. You know about ski joring?
No.
No, what's ski joring?
Ski joring is what the Norwegians do. They tie a rope behind a horse.
And you would do it with the Model T. Wow.
That must have been 46, 47, 48, something like that.
So do you think people were tougher back in the day to be able to drive these every day?
No,
No, you don't think so?
no problem. It was a fun car, you know. It was fun working on it. I think we had a total of 4 engines in and out of it before we.
I bet you got pretty good at changing engines.
Well, yes and no. The problem is those engines weigh, as you know, they weigh a ton. And we couldn't lift it up and over. We had to drop it through the bottom. That meant you had to lift the whole car up and over and then pull the engine out from under it.
What do you think the longest trip you took was?
The longest trip in that buggy?
Yep.
Oh, I think we went to Palmer Lake once. We had a cabin up in Palmer Lake,
Okay.
and I think we drove it up there once. But that was there's a road out there beside the superhighway now, and it was a concrete road. We called it the Ribbon of Death.
Okay.
That's the road. You can take it today if you stay west of the superhighway.
Whoa. Oh, we're good.
Whoa. No, snow time was fun. We had a bet on at high school. Everybody knew we had this car, and we were so proud of ourselves. He says, we'll bet we can start this with one crank.
Okay.
And they said, hell you say. And so we would fill it with warm water, and we would prime it. And we'd get everything all primed and a little bit of ether down the carburetor, and that thing would start just without fail.
It would go, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Henry really did a job when he brought this out, you know. We followed T's forever, but we had to give them up. And I ended up, my substitute wheels was a BMW motorcycle.
Wow.
And I bought this Beamer in Munich at the factory and drove it to Istanbul, brought it back to the States, married her mother, and the two of us put my cameras back on the Beamer, and we went back to Europe, and for 3 years we took pictures in Europe from the back of the Beamer.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
We split the Model T.
What a great story. Wow. So,
Oh.
Roger, what was the fastest you ever went in your Model T? How fast do you think you got it up to?
Maybe 75.
75.
75?
Well, see, it was 27. It was a lot tighter than this little buggy. And God, this is just beautiful, though. Oh.
Well, thank you. It's what we call a work in progress. So, like, we have new tires we just bought for it, so we're gonna put new tires on it. That's the one.
Yeah.
God. Sharp as a tack. You remember? Yeah, non-skid tires.
Oh yeah. I do remember.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Did it break down many times, or were you pretty reliable?
No, it was a goer. We had it together, and we knew what was wrong.
Yeah.
When it was wrong, and the engine just had a lot of power. The overhead valves, the front neck head was just super.
Yeah.
And we enjoyed it a lot.
So when you were in high school, did you drive the Model T to high school at all?
No, as it was, we were 2 blocks from high school.
Oh,
okay.
We lived on South Humboldt, right by Washington Park. Do you know Boulder or Denver?
Yeah.
Okay, we lived just south of Washington Park, and South High School was just 2.5 blocks east of us, up Louisiana. So we could walk home for lunch.
Wow.
And so there was no driving.
That's awesome.
I don't know that any students drove to high school in those days. It's always a little tricky making your signals with your left arm, you know, turning right, turning left, and meanwhile, you've got the gas and you've got your spark.
It's a lot of stuff to manage. Did you ever get pulled over by the police in your car?
Never did. Never did. I don't think we even had to ask any advice. We were pretty cool about what we did with it.
It's amazing though that these cars, they still run like they did 100 years ago. They still keep going.
Hard to believe.
Although I think you're in better shape, Roger. You're in better condition.
Don't try the middle pedal though. Well,
I think you overheat less than this car does.
Well, it's the oil, keep the oil up. I tell you, I can't tell you what a joy this is. I'm 93 and you live a lot of your daily time in reminiscences. Mm-hmm. And I was for 100 years a photographer.
Wow.
And so I have literally thousands of photographs and traveled all over Europe. I lived in Europe and so on and so on. And I have all these visual reminiscences that I can go back through and revisit, and that's a delight. Now this is something else. I am exceedingly pleased that people are saving them.
Yeah.
Not just the T's, but the A's and the Rolls Royces and the Hispano Suizes and all of the great cars that came out that even if they're becoming museum objects, they're being saved. Mm-hmm. And that is huge. Rather than eliminating what has been a very important part of all of our lives, you know.
Yeah. No, you're right.
So
It's great there's still people saving them.
yeah. Amen. I'm out of here. Tom, you've done good.
So Roger ended up being a super cool dude.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was really cool to hear a little bit about how people were using this car back in the day. I mean, of course, when he was driving it, that was a little after this car's real heyday, because that would have been over 100 years ago. Not really anybody around that was driving these at that time.
No, but even still, I mean, the car was what, 17, 18 years old?
Yeah.
And, you know, from the research I've done, these cars were basically free. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, $75 was still a lot of money in 1941, but they were just so cheap because they built so many of them.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the funny things with today. It's still a pretty affordable experience and a relatively affordable vehicle to get into as far as classics go, because we got this one for around 13 grand.
Yeah. And you can get a pretty good running and driving T for 10, right? This one's
Yeah.
a little more expensive because it has the brass radiator and the brass headlights and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. But yeah, you can still get them real cheap. No, I mean, look, cheap is always a relative term. Is it a $3,000 banger? No. But it still is. Like, if you wanted a running and driving brass era car,
Yeah.
right? Most of them have been sucked up by like the Pebble Beach community,
Oh, absolutely.
you know, and those are going to be $100,000 plus.
Yeah.
You can still get a pretty good T for under $12,000.
Yeah. Look at that. This is a nice road.
Really nice road. The thing about these cars, Case, is they're kind of like people, right? Like, they're never fully in tune. You know, there's no such thing as like a perfectly sorted Model T. You're always going to be kind of putzing with it and adjusting the band and getting the ignition right, and there's a lot of stuff that you need to do to these to get them perfect.
When it's impressive too to hear about people like Roger's mother, who back in the day would have been running this car herself to get around and to go do her job, which again is especially impressive because, like we've talked about, I mean, physically it's not like going into a powerlifting competition trying to get this car started, but it takes some physical effort to get this car running, and you really got to go through quite a lot of steps. We've talked about it a little bit before, that a lot of people our age are terrified to drive even a manual car. You compare the complexity of that to the complexity of just operating this vehicle, night and day difference.
There's not a lot of anonymity
No, no. Especially here in this Roadster, right?
in this. Yeah, the convertible ones are even more kind of flashy, right?
Yeah, very flashy.
Oh my God.
It's like the McLaren of brass era
no,
cars.
our
Oh, radiator cap.
We lost our radiator cap. 1 sec.
Yeah, something tells me that Roger probably wasn't having to stop and put his radiator cap back on every mile and a quarter. Yeah. But we're not overheating.
No way.
I know.
Wow.
Not even overheating.
Not even, huh?
That's, oh God, pretty good for a Model T day.
That's like 85 out here too.
Yeah. Good thing it's not like 96, which it has been recently.
So, Case, what else do we want to do with the Model T?
It's a good question. You know, we've tried doing as many things, I think, as we can think of doing.
We took it on the highway, unfortunately. We took it in
Yeah.
for service. We took it to a McDonald's.
Yeah, so we've done pretty much all the mundane things that people do in their day-to-day lives with this car, which made all of those mundane things pretty fun.
Yeah, it sure did, but we'd love to hear your opinion. What other not main mundane things should we do with the Model T? What do you want? What kind of crazy stuff you want to see done? We'll be happy to read any and all comments and go from there.
Yeah, exactly. So let us know down in the comments below. As for now, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching, and thanks to Roger and his family for spending some time hanging out with us and telling us a little bit about some of the history of what it was like to motor in these vehicles.
And we'll see you in the next one.